Imagine the fun you'll have at your wedding, one of life's most treasured moments. In each episode, hear from leading wedding professionals as they share with you insider tips and personal advice for a magical wedding. Welcome to the Indian Wedding Podcast. Here to help plan your wedding with style and grace are your hosts, Kunal and Jinal Sampat.
Hello, guys. This is Kunal, your host at the Indian Wedding Podcast. Welcome to the show and our very first episode. I'm here with
Jinal Sampat. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very first episode. Really excited to have you guys over.
So why are you that excited?
Well, there are so many things I want to talk about in this podcast, and I think it's going to be really useful for all the brides and grooms.
So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm a designer. Basically, I'm trained as an architect and a landscape architect, and slowly transitioned into jewelry designing.
And I am a man of many interests, but I do love podcasting in general. I think it's a great medium to share awesome, valuable information in an audio format for people that are commuting and don't have time to read a book, but then you can really get awesome information. And that's my goal through this medium. And I am obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious. I don't want to be stereotypical, but I am an engineer by training. But I know nothing about engineering, I feel. And I'm just excited to support this mission of helping brides and grooms and their families have meaningful, fun-filled weddings. And that's the whole reason why we are putting together this podcast. So welcome to the Indian Wedding Podcast, episode 1.
Wow. I'm excited. So
one of the reasons why are we doing this is, we want to have unbiased information in the community for people to have access to suppliers or vendors. You can use any terminology that are in the wedding industry and really understand insider information on how they can go about planning their dream wedding and get inspired by what others are doing and what these experts in the wedding industry are sharing on our show. So maybe we can talk a little bit first about our format for our show. What are we planning on doing?
So I think we are going to have a few episodes just where Kunal and I will be talking about our experiences and some of the really interesting topics that are not talked about. So we will be sharing our thoughts on it, especially on the Indian wedding side of it. And most of it we'll be sharing would be interviewing guests on our podcast, which would be like leading wedding experts, like wedding planners, choreographers, caterers, makeup artists, everything you may think you may need at an Indian wedding. Yeah, so it's super exciting, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one of the things that this is a very vague concept, so I want to talk about this a little bit more. Maybe like specifically meaningful weddings. Like, what does it mean to have a meaningful wedding? Because culturally, there's a lot of pressure with Indian weddings, no matter what part of the world you're having one.
Exactly.
There is societal norms, and then there is expectations, and there's big families and big weddings, a lot of money being spent. So maybe I think...
Yeah, because at the end, who is going to remember your wedding? It's you guys. Everybody's just going to come, enjoy that week, and then go away. It's you that are going to have those memories with you. So it better be good.
Yeah, something that you'll remember and something that's important for you. So as we take you guys through this journey on this show, or not just this episode, but just the whole show in general, one of the themes that you're going to start finding out is how can you make it meaningful for you and your loved ones. It's all about you and your dreams and your life. Yeah,
exactly. That's on point. Yeah.
So let's talk about maybe our wedding and kind of highlight some of the things that went well and
we
didn't
can use
go well.
that as an example.
Yeah, to get this idea across.
Yeah, I'm not sure if most people know we are married.
Yeah,
we're a husband-wife team, so doing this podcast together. So it would be really interesting to talk about weddings in general.
Yeah. So our wedding was back in 2008, and one of the things that we've I don't know if regret is the right word, but one of the things that we weren't quite happy with was the photography. So I think it seems like a ongoing pain. Maybe you can tell about what do you think brides and grooms should be doing, or what do you think we should have done differently?
We should have done.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should have hired a better photographer. Maybe looked at examples, first. Our parents picked a photographer, so and we just trusted that. But I feel like having good photographs after the wedding is really important. Right now, if I want to print a single photograph, I don't have a single photo that I loved. It was all a different style, especially if you're having a wedding in India, for example. There's a different style versus wedding in international countries. But things are changing, so definitely invest in better photographers. I think will even make like simplest of decoration look really fabulous.
Yeah. So really talking to the photographer and seeing their prior work is the way to go.
Yeah.
But then people get really hung up on the budget. Maybe I'm assuming this is a big assumption here.
Yeah.
But I know money plays a big role in all of this, and whether you value photography or not.
That is also important. Yeah.
And it is an art, so you're actually paying for the artist's really eye and what they can bring to the table. It's not a commodity that you can exchange your money for.
And it's also not something that you can direct before the wedding. Oh, I want to have a shot like this. It's definitely going to be different than you visualize it. I feel like giving the photographer that freedom helps a little bit to like just let him explore.
Yeah, so giving them that window to express their creativity. Yeah. Awesome. So what about clothing and jewelry? So I know you're working with my dad on the jewelry side of things and designing Mangala Sutras and so on and so forth for the modern bride. So I want to hear your perspective on that, and also on clothing, because I'll give you my perspective on clothing in a bit, but your aunt has a store in Berkeley. She's been doing this for 30 years or longer.
Maybe more,
So, and she works with a lot of brides, and I know we got our clothes from her, so I want to maybe dig into that a little bit more. So do you want to share your thoughts?
Yes, sure. It's a really important topic, actually, where we made a lot of mistakes, and I'm sure if we were getting married today, we wouldn't. So when thinking about jewelry, for example, like Kunal's dad makes the diamond jewelry he's been making it for more than 45 years. So his main focus is traditional diamond Indian jewelry. So being a jeweler, he wanted to gift Kunal's bride, that was me, many pieces of jewelry, actually, really beautiful, elaborate, really expensive stuff, actually, that was given to me. But when I moved here to the United States, after we got married, I had to keep it in the safety deposit box because it was valuable and it was too big for me to wear every day. So I just kept it in the safety deposit box. And after a few years, I honestly didn't remember what I had until I made a trip to the safety deposit box bank locker again, to gonna check what I had. And that time the light bulb moment, went like, there should be a way where we can design these pieces in a more versatile way. What do you think?
Yeah. So I agree. I mean, you still a lot of our jewelry is in the safe deposit box, and it cannot be worn on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So it is it's something that we're trying to solve
with our company. Yeah,
Yep.
Exactly. So on the other note, like with the bridal outfits, right? So the outfits were, as a bride and the groom would need to wear, according to the society, the most elaborate and fanciest outfits because they are the center of attraction that day.
And expensive.
Like you would not wear those outfits after your wedding, basically. They're so elaborate. Even if you're wearing at someone else's wedding, you may be like more fancier than the bride, so you have to pay attention on what you're selecting, right?
Yeah,
it has to you should be able to wear it after the wedding, basically.
Yeah, so invest in pieces that you can wear after your wedding,
yeah,
not just on the wedding day.
Exactly.
Yeah, that can be a little hard for some brides because they do want to look the best and they do want to look different.
So that's why we'll be interviewing some of the fashion designers, in your podcast and get their inputs on what styles should, like I'm not an expert at it, but that's why we will be having guests that that will be talking about these topics. Yeah.
So for me as a guy, I think it was a huge waste of, money's one thing, but just the whole, having all these clothes and like having to now store them for
exactly
indefinite amount of time.
So you can store it, you can throw it.
I tried to sell them on eBay and wasn't quite successful. Maybe I haven't just given it enough time or good enough shot at that of selling it, but either way, so it's just like you end up investing in all these expensive heavy clothes and then you can't really wear them. So I actually am a firm believer of really buying things that you can wear in the long term, and they don't have to be too simple. Like they could be little, if you're one of those people who likes to have nice things, you could have a nice pair.
You can layer it with jewelry and other accessory to make it like bridal. I mean, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah.
Layering is good because then you can take some pieces away for other people's wedding and still wear
So that's good. So we talked about.
But you did invest in a nicer suit.
That's true. You can wear suits. Yeah. So spend the money on a nice pair of suits, or maybe a couple of suits that you can wear on different nights, and really something that you'll wear for a really, really long time after your wedding at work events and at presentations and interviews and so on and so forth.
It's more worth it.
It's just you're gonna get the most out of your investment, if I must say. So that's good, and then the next thing was catering, like food. I've done a lot of events myself, and I know food is really important, no matter
what kind of wedding it is. Indian American.
Yeah.
Food is number one, right?
Yeah. I think food is where people should start. I think. In some ways, maybe location and then food. But I think it's kind of tied together. Food is really equally critical.
Yeah, and we were talking about having some vegan and healthier options for the younger generations. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
it's a newer trend, but
having vegan options at weddings is great. Gluten-free for people that are intolerant, or at least having that option for people to be able to enjoy those kind of meals. I think it's huge, and I think that would apply anywhere in the world. I don't think it's just the U.S. But just anywhere in the world, it just would be good to have those food options.
Exactly.
So that's good. And the final thing is just making it meaningful, right? Coming back to the whole concept around meaningful weddings, really taking care of your guests and treating them with respect, really making sure that they're comfortable and having some person dedicated to
take care of them.
Put your friends to work and get them to make sure all the other guests are comfortable.
Also about the events, I think number of events, like Indian weddings are known to have like a week full of events, morning and evening. I'm not sure if that's the best idea. It may be for some families, but for us, I don't know if it was the best idea to have like one full week of events. Which was your favorite event out of the 7 days we had?
I just got overwhelmed with all the people, but Mehndi was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Because
why was that?
And why was that? Because there were only 300 people.
Yeah.
But if there were, like at the wedding, we had 1,000 people, and then at the other, like cocktail was fine. I just think cocktails are fun, but they're not really, I don't know if they're truly part of the Indian culture. I think it's something that's borrowed from Western society, which is fine. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I just think it's...
but it's just like living with the time. Like younger generations, right, these days are not super traditional 365 days, so...
Yeah.
It just makes, I think I love the cocktail party actually, because it just makes the wedding, it's just a warm-up session so that everybody just loosens up before the wedding. And it's just like people start to know each other if they've never met, if they meet in a cocktail, setup.
Yeah.
it becomes easier even for the bride's family and the groom's family. Once they have had a few shots or drinks together,
Yeah.
it just makes everything.
It helps break the ice for sure.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. And then obviously Sangeet. I mean, Sangeet could have been a lot interesting if we had an artist that you and I enjoyed. I think we went with singers that we probably didn't.
Yeah,
can't
I mean,
even remember.
Sangeet, I feel like it was more like a show that the singers were doing to entertain the guests.
Yeah.
And we were kind of guinea pigs, like they were using us as props.
Yeah.
This is a typical format, but I kind of don't like that. It's more like an entertainment for guests. So it was kind of funny. I would not do that again, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually honestly think like small intimate dinners with families, with your immediate family and your partner's immediate family, are probably going to be much more amazing. And you'll remember them more than doing this
It's a great idea.
big event. So trying to really plan a dinner just with the families together, and really just the immediate families, like
people who matter to you, you know, something small and something nice.
like less than 10 people basically.
That's your definition of intimate.
That's my definition, because then you can actually talk to other people.
Like we were not able to talk to anybody for our wedding. It was just too many people and too many things to do, so it was just overwhelming. But there are so many things that I think we will be talking in our future podcasts with actually wedding planning experts. So they have seen hundreds of weddings, so I'm sure they'll be able to give us some really great tips for brides and grooms,
right?
Which would be really helpful. I think I wish we had that. I
also, I mean, this is all personal preference, but you could pretty much use some of that money to, if you're trying to buy a house or something, use it as a down payment for the house rather than burning all this cash. Well, anyways, that's not the point of the Indian wedding podcast. But that could be something that people can consider, and really, depends how big or fancy you want your wedding to be. But if you love, I mean, I know you love all the glamour, so
I love the glamour, but not like 7 days straight. I would like it to be like 1 or 2 days at max, and then just enjoy the rest with like smaller gatherings,
Yeah. So I think one of the things I want to talk about is like the guest selection. Did we touch on like how we want to try to make this unbiased by having people?
No, I think that's important to share.
So one of the things that we want to do is make this people that we bring on the show, they're not really paying us a penny to be on the show. We're hand selecting each person. And
so
based on whether or not they can provide, our criteria is actually very simple. Based on whether or not they can provide value to the brides and grooms that are and their families, right? I think that's
and people whom you admire,
the work, exactly. And I think that does raise some sort of subjectivity that it's up to us, like how are we selecting these people. But I think having that North Star of selecting people based on whether they can provide value to brides and grooms is the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, you should kind of respect and admire the person whom you're having on the show. So that's number one, and also their work speaks. So it's quite simple, because most of the platforms that you see are mostly paid. So we definitely didn't want this platform to be paid. It's purely unpaid, and to provide the most value to you guys.
Yeah, the problem with paid platforms is then it becomes only if you can afford to pay, then the talent comes out. Or like you may not be knowing the gamut of options that are available to you. So still look at the paid options, but then also think through like what other things are out there that business or that individual may have not considered paying this company, or so on and so forth. So
it's a great point.
What else do we want to talk about? Anything else?
I think that's about it. We wanted to talk about our weddings and mistakes, but and also what they can expect. I think we've covered
it all. So this is a nice short episode. Then I guess
this is short and sweet. So welcome again.
And you'll be hearing from both of us in the coming weeks. And
definitely. And if you want to have your favorite vendor on our show, feel free to write us, send us a message.
Yeah. Well, maybe at one of our next shows, we'll probably start telling people how they can share their feedback with us.
Yeah.
And then we can take it from there. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Indian Wedding Podcast. For more exclusive time and money-saving tips, head over to somepotjewelers.com/podcast.